and dialogue on what it means to feel at home wherever you might be. We invite you to let go of the rest of the day for a little while and simply be here with us. A few gentle housekeeping reminders before we get started. This is a live Zoom meeting and we'll invite questions later using the raised hand feature. During the meditation, please know that the chat will be turned off so we can all fully settle in. And if you'd like to revisit today's experience, a recording will be emailed to all who registered. I also want to note that on your Zoom, there is a view button in the upper right-hand corner if you'd like to change the view of your screen to see everyone, or if you'd like to highlight Jon to make him larger, you can do that in the upper right-hand side of your screen. If I call on you during the Q&A, you will know because I will request that you unmute your mic and turn on your video if it's not on already. Who we are. For those who are new here, welcome. We are the Anti-Cancer Lifestyle Program, and we offer free, expert-led, doctor-recommended resources to support people in reducing the risk
Why
of
can I not get my earbuds to work?
I hope everyone's okay. Yeah, I hope your earbuds are working. We will be keeping everyone on mute as much as possible, except during Q&A. So we offer expert-led, doctor-recommended resources to support people in reducing the risk of cancer, cancer recurrence, and chronic illness. Please know that our work is trusted by cancer centers and clinicians worldwide, and it's rooted in passion, evidence, and accessibility. We have a host of free resources that you're welcome to explore anytime on our site, anticancerlifestyle.org. They're designed to meet you where you are and support small, meaningful changes that can truly add up over time. Our free ebooks are one of our most popular resources, and these dive a bit deeper into specific topics. These are available at no extra cost. If something we touch on today resonates, these can be a helpful next step. You can download these for free on our website, and my counterpart Megan will drop a link to these in the chat as well if you'd like to save it. I am thrilled to invite you to join an anti-cancer learning circle this spring. For those looking for deeper connection and ongoing support, our learning circles bring small groups of cancer survivors together weekly in a guided, supportive environment. They offer structure, accountability, and evidence-based tools to help changes truly take root. If you'd like to apply, you can do so on our website. Click the link that Megan will drop in the chat and feel free, please, to forward this on to any cancer survivors in your life who may be interested. We also have a private Facebook community. This is different than our public pages that some of you might have come here through today. This is where people can connect, share experiences, and support one another. If community feels nourishing to you, you are warmly invited to join us here. You can request access through our public Facebook page, and Megan will drop a link in the chat as well. Your donation makes a difference. We are a nonprofit organization, and if you'd like to help us improve the lives of cancer survivors and those interested in healthy living, we appreciate your tax-deductible donation. It's the reason why we're able to host complimentary events like this and offer the multitude of free resources that we do on our site. You can donate on our website or through the link that Megan will drop in the chat. All right, the speaker you are here to see, Jon Kabat-Zinn, PhD, is a pioneer in bringing mindfulness to medicine and everyday life, and the founder of Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, which he launched at the University of Massachusetts Medical School in 1979. He's the author of many influential books, many of which I'm sure you've read, including Full Catastrophe Living, Wherever You Go, There You Are, and most recently, Mindfulness Meditation for Pain Relief. Jon's work has helped introduce mindfulness into healthcare, education, and communities around the world. Jon, we're so grateful to have you here with us today. Thank you for sharing your presence, wisdom, and practice with our community. I'll let you take it away.
Well, thank you so much. And it's just wonderful to be here. Wave your hands if you can hear me okay. Just go like this so I can see on my screen. And I I'm very, very touched to be here with you, and also very touched to look at my screen in the gallery view and see that there are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 5, 25 people on my screen, and there are 20 screens. So that is, 500 people at least. And I would actually urge you to, before we get started, to click the button on the right side of your screen if you're in gallery view and see all the other people who are showing up for this. Because and it's quite remarkable, it looks like every single one of us is in our homes. And we almost never see each other in our homes, unless, especially post-pandemic. So things have really changed a lot in terms of our ability to get together. And yet we have this amazing technology that actually allows thousands of us to be in the same place at the same time, in the sort of mind space and heart space, but at the same time, we're all at home. And I guess a lot of what I'm going to be talking about in terms of mindfulness meditation is that the real challenge, hi Linda Carlson, nice to see you on my screen. The real challenge from the Cancer Center in Calgary, the real challenge here is to be at home wherever you are. Okay, so right now you're at home, and being at home has certain kind of comfort quality to it. We know what we mean literally and more importantly, metaphorically, when we say I'm at home. So can you be at home in your own skin? Can you be at home with whatever's unfolding in your life, which sometimes is highly stressful or unpleasant or challenging, and especially under the umbrella of cancer care, a cancer diagnosis is a gigantic challenge to us to actually find ways to come back to a sense of dynamical balance and well-being, not by getting rid of anything, but by making so much room that your health is so much bigger than the cancer that, or anything else that you're experiencing, including pain, that you have a wide number of different ways to relate to it, to maximize your potential for well-being across the lifespan. None of us are here for all that long. A lifetime is, a really remarkable opportunity to adventure in this world, this very, very crazy world, which, as you know, is getting crazier by the second, and more dangerous by the second. And yet I think the invitation here is to find a way to not only to be sane in a time of great craziness, but also to be well in yourself, in spite of what I call the full catastrophe of the human condition, which includes stress, pain, and illness. And so nobody is immune from stress or pain or illness. But what mindfulness can offer us is a way to actually be in wise relationship with what arises in life, so that we have a certain degree of agency and well-being, and can actually navigate the ups and downs in a way that not only has integrity, but is full of meaning and joy as well. And I think it kind of parallels the anti-cancer lifestyle program very, very deeply. And mindfulness obviously is an incredible part of the anti-cancer lifestyle. So let's take a moment, and I use that term advisedly, okay? Because our lives consist of nothing but moments. And yet, if you start to pay attention to how your mind is working and how your life is unfolding, a lot of the time we're trying to get someplace else. We're on the way to someplace else, or we're escaping from what has happened, trying to get to some better future, and kind of ignoring the fact that we're only alive in one moment, and that moment is called now. And good, bad, or ugly, this is it. And so can we actually find ways to be in wise relationship and caring and loving relationship with ourselves in this moment? And 40, almost 50 years of research now on mindfulness-based stress reduction and other mindfulness-based approaches to cancer care and depression and all sorts of other things are showing that it is really possible to be well in the midst of illness, pain, suffering, and that your willingness to take a stand in that way in your life in the present moment actually transforms the arc of the challenges we're facing in terms of stress, pain, and illness, and the arc of disease itself. And that research is, of course, in its infancy, but all of the evidence points to the fact that when we participate in our own trajectory towards greater levels of health and well-being, that is far more effective than if we just let medicine do medicine on us, and we're the passive recipients of medical care instead of active participants. And now even the NIH has kind of taken that up and has 4P medicine, it's called, and one of those P's is participatory. So we need to participate in our own trajectory through life. And the more we can be in the present moment, all the evidence suggests that every aspect of the body, the mind, the brain, the molecular biology of life is affected by our willingness to be present. So I'm going to be talking about meditation in two ways. One, as a formal meditation practice. How many of you, just raise your hands and I'll look at a couple of screens. How many of you would say you do have a formal and fairly rigorous meditation practice that you maintain on a regular basis? Just raise your hands and I'm going to okay, well, that's wonderful. And send up balloons or whatever too, because they're easier to say. Okay, so great. So I'm not talking to people for whom this is totally foreign because, in the old days, it was thought that meditation might be a communist plot or something like that when we were worried about communism. So meditation is a way of actually not missing your moments. It's as simple as that. And so there are two ways in which meditation manifests. One is formal meditation practice, which we'll be doing in a few moments, and I will guide a formal meditation practice. But the real meditation practice, I want to be very clear about this right from the get-go. The real meditation practice is life itself and how we are in every single moment. And when you can be more present, more open-hearted, more spacious, more relaxed in even the difficult moments, it transforms the difficult moments and it transforms your life in ways that are both healing and more than healing, even transformative. They infuse love and meaning into our lives. And so in my dotage, in my old age, I've taken to actually realizing, it came as a realization some decades ago, that when you actually take your seat, and I'm using the term metaphorically because we can meditate lying down, sitting, standing, or walking, or doing anything else, washing the dishes. But when you take your seat in formal meditation practice, I've come to sort of speak about it as a radical act. It's not just one more little exercise you have to squeeze into your day to be a healthy person. It's a radical act. And you know what it is? It's a radical act of sanity, actually. To take a moment and just stop and drop out of the stream of moments into this moment so that we're not going anywhere anymore, but we are giving ourselves an opportunity to be where we already are, this moment. with the body just as it is, with the mind just as it is, and with our friend the breath that's keeping us alive just as it is. And then we're going to befriend that breath. So that's one way of meditating is, or understanding meditation. It's that it's a formal practice, that a love affair that we engage in on a regular basis, hopefully daily, for some extended period of time that's more than you want to do. Okay, and the reason I say more than you actually want to do is because it gets much more interesting once you get impatient and think, okay, that's over. Now I got to get the kids ready for school, or do the dishes, or get to work, or whatever. And it's not that mindfulness or meditation should compete with any of that, but the real meditation practice is life itself. So it doesn't end when you get off the cushion or get off the chair. It's you carrying the present moment with you wherever you go. That turns out to make a huge difference in our ability to handle stress, pain, and illness. So let's take a moment, and just for fun, I'm going to actually, I've stopped doing this years ago because I don't want people to feel like you have to hear bells in order to think that you're meditating. But I'm going to ring some bells, which I often did in the past to signal a period of guided meditation. These are kind of little Tibetan tingsha bells, but it could be any kind of bell. But I'm going to let them touch, and I would invite you to follow the sound of the bells into the feeling and the sound of your own breathing. And let me invite you to sit in a posture that already embodies wakefulness and dignity if you're sitting. So not so much lying back, but sitting up as a kind of fully dignified, erect human being. If you're lying down or you need to do it some other way, that's also fine. But whatever it is, the strong intentionality to actually recognize that this is it, this moment when the bells kiss, this is signaling that this moment is here. And as soon as it's here, it's also not here, because the next moment is already here, and then the next, and the next. And so the challenge is, can we be in the present moment and the flowing of our present moments in the same way that the breath is flowing in and out of the body? So one good anchor for your attention is a sense of the body as a whole, sitting, breathing, and in a posture that embodies why you tuned into this program in the first place. I would say maybe love, maybe, a sense that something may be missing in your life that you want to get back in touch with. And I'm going to just take a wild guess that something is your own intrinsic beauty. So it's really a love affair to take your seat in this way, a love affair, a radical act of sanity as well as love. And so now I can actually stop talking because you're in charge. Or let's say not you in charge, but life is in charge. I'm guessing there's nobody here for whom the breath is not moving in and out of the body. But if there is, you can talk to me after this is over. That would be a very special case. So can we actually feel this breath coming into the body in this moment? And can we feel how it rises to a certain apex and then it releases all on its own? And that's the beginning of an out-breath. And then all on its own, without our having to get involved or interfere, the next breath comes when it comes. So we don't have to control it, push the breath, pull the breath. But you could ride on the waves of your breathing. You could surf, if you will, on the waves of your breathing with full attention and a kind of open-hearted spaciousness in this very moment. So letting your own breathing remind you that this is it, this moment is your life. And you can feel the breath sensations drinking in the air. Very naturally, you don't have to suck it in or, take deep breaths or anything like that. It just naturally, it's more like you're being breathed and you're breathing. It's not yours to do the breathing. Thank goodness, because otherwise, if you fell asleep or got distracted, you'd drop dead. So you're not really allowed anywhere near the phrenic nerve and the brainstem and the diaphragm that collaborate in keeping the breath going. That's a kind of gift. And a kind of sobering reminder that we have only moments to live, and the more moments we actually show up for and embody and inhabit, the more alive we will be. And do a first approximation between now and the time any of us are dead, there are, to a first approximation, an infinite number of moments. Whether, it's next week or in 10 years or 50 years. There's still an infinite number of moments even in that 10 weeks or 1 week. And the important thing is not to get carried away in thoughts of anything, but actually to let the thoughts just wave like the waves on the surface of the ocean. And we drop underneath a little bit, down to a place where it's just gentle undulations, and we can simply rest in awareness. We take up residency in awareness or mindfulness, and we just stay here, letting life unfold moment by moment by moment, and breath by breath by breath. Eyes open's fine, eyes closed fine. And if the mind wanders at a certain point, gets caught up in thought or carried away in the past or the future, just know that, hey, that's true for everybody. It happens constantly for everybody. When you notice that your mind is no longer in your belly or on your body breathing and sitting, just notice what's on your mind and bring it back. And if it happens 1,000 times, just notice it 1,000 times and bring it back 1,000 times, gently and kindly and with compassion for yourself. Because just the way the mind is, it's like the untrained mind, if you will, the mindless mind tends to kind of rule our lives and rule our reality, construct our reality for us. And as soon as you drop into being as opposed to doing, into this timeless moment we call now, all that just evaporates, and you're already, in some profound way, free of it, at least for now. And then silence and mindfulness and awareness and deep caring for yourself all becomes synonymous underneath any of the words or thoughts about them. And so we're just here with the breath coming in, and the breath leaving the body, and the awareness function knowing that the body is sitting here, breathing. And can you be at home in this timeless moment we call now, with this unfolding of breath in the body, and the body sitting? Of course, thoughts will be running through your mind like crazy, and you'll have various kinds of emotions arise and pass away, and all that's absolutely fine. It's part of the curriculum, but you don't have to get distracted or carried away by it. But of course, sooner or later you will. And so noticing when your mind has completely forgotten about the breath or your body or this moment, there's a certain point you're gonna notice that. You're gonna wake up to the fact that you're lost in thought or been carried away in the thought stream. It's an experience we all have constantly, but the noticing it is already mindfulness, already awareness, and you're already back. So it's not like thoughts are bad or that, distraction is bad. It's just the way the mind is. It self-distracts endlessly. But your awareness can hold whatever's happening without any distraction whatsoever. You can be aware of distraction, and that awareness is mindfulness. You can also be aware of discomfort in the body, or of sensations in the body that are unpleasant, and that awareness is also mindfulness. You can be aware of anxious thoughts in the mind, and then the awareness of the anxious thoughts, you can investigate it. Is the awareness of the anxious thought at all colored by the anxiety? And you may find that it's not. The awareness is free of the anxiety. It may also be free of the suffering that comes with the how should I say this? The unpleasant sensations associated with certain kind of sensations that we call pain. And probably would be better if we called discomfort. Because once we use the word pain, it's kind of inflammatory. So the invitation now is to drop underneath everything I'm saying, all the words that have been said and that may be said going forward, and seeing if you can just rest in this present moment with the body sitting in an erect, dignified posture or whatever posture it is in, and the breath moving in and out of the body on its own, kind of continual pas de deux with the larger world. So you're befriending stillness right in this present moment. No matter how stressful it is or how much your mind is caught up in thinking, you're befriending the present moment and learning, teaching yourself how to drop underneath thought, not suppressing the thoughts or the emotions, but just dropping underneath them. They can be here, no problem, and awareness has no problem with them. So we're dropping into awareness. Another way of putting it is we're learning how to drop into being and let the doing, which includes thinking and, perseverating about this and that in the mind, it's all a kind of part of the domain of doing. Busy, 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 doing, doing, doing. And in no time we can just drop into being and let the busyness and the doing just do itself, but we don't have to be caught in it. And this gives you a new degree of freedom right here in this present moment. A new way of being in wise relationship with the unwanted, with the difficult, with the stressful, without having to push away or suppress anything at all. And so it's not an exaggeration to say that it's a kind of a door into freedom. And I use the expression, a degree of freedom. There are many degrees of freedom, multiple dimensions to freedom. And so we can actually experiment and explore how to be okay with things as they are in this moment. And that okayness is already freedom. And it doesn't mean that problems don't need to get solved and things don't need to be diagnosed or treated, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it means that your participation in it all adds another dimension of possibility that is invaluable. And all the research shows that it's a collaboration that amplifies healing, recovery, reclaiming of the full dimensionality of our lives at any age and in any moment. And this is not a catechism or, some kind of, belief system. It's an experiment that you can do for yourself to see whether you can be at home in your own life as it is in this way by learning to inhabit the full dimensionality of your being, which includes open-hearted, spacious awareness. The biggest mystery of all, humanity, no neuroscientist knows how awareness comes about out of all the, billions of neurons and trillions of synaptic connections in the brain. Just don't know how sentience or awareness comes about. And we're born with it. It's not something we have to acquire. But reliable access is a different story, and that's where the meditation practice comes in. We're cultivating access to this moment in awareness. This moment just as it is. We're not trying to make it better, make anything go away, visualize anything, push away anything, not even heal anything, although the practice is itself profoundly healing. But that takes care of itself. All we have to do is show up and learn how to rest in awareness. And from the outside, it may look like nothing. People might look at us if they came from someplace else and say, oh, they're not doing anything. They're falling asleep. Actually, what we're engaged in is falling awake, but it is a non-doing. We're reclaiming what it means to be, as in human being. Not having to go anywhere else or to pass any tests or to accomplish anything to be valid or validated. We're validated simply because the world breathes us in this moment, and the world breathes us out. We are an intimate part of this world. We are part of this world's flowering. And maybe small, but not hardly insignificant part, because the world really desperately needs all its flowers, including you and me and all of us. And to be our best selves too, not be caught by fear or pain or self-centeredness that knows no bounds. But more to be in the endless expression of love coming out of our own hearts. the privilege and the beauty of actually having a body and being alive and belonging in a family or in a network or in nature or in the world. So it's a recognition of our wholeness, which WHOLENESS, which is the root meaning of the word health and the root meaning of the word healing. So make no mistake about it, this thing that from the outside looks a lot like nothing turns out to be just about everything when it comes to living and, if you will, reclaiming the life that's yours to live, the life that's mine to live. Each one of us reclaiming the life that's right under our noses in every moment that we ignore when we get lost in thought and driven by anxiety and stress and fear. And those are like weather patterns in the mind that we don't have to be defeated by. They're just storms that come and go, but they come and go in awareness. When they come and go in awareness, they don't have the same power over us. And this is the core, the root of healing, of coming to terms with things as they are. And these meditation practices are not traditionally about healing, because healing is only a small part of what awakening is about. These meditation practices are really powerful tools for giving you back your life. Not just in terms of healing, but in terms of growing out of whatever is holding you back, transforming you into the full dimensionality of what you love, what you aspire to, and in the deepest of ways, who you already are and always have been, no matter what the circumstances you find yourself in right in this moment. Which is why putting out the welcome mat right in this moment is the root gesture to catalyze healing, to catalyze that coming to terms with things as they are. Not fixing, not curing, but coming to terms with the actuality of things. So, in the remaining moments of this meditation practice, letting silence do all the speaking, letting your own awareness meet this silent moment. And welcome yourself home. So noticing that even after the bells rang, are you still breathing? Yes, of course you are. So the bells don't signal the end of the meditation practice, except in some very limited formal way. The bells are just kind of like a grace note on this moment, and a kind of signaling that we're going to transition into a kind of conversation, and then open it up to you and having dialogue among us. And so nothing really ends with the bells or begins with the bells, because every in-breath is a kind of bell, every out-breath kind of what some traditions call a mindfulness bell, reminding us that this is it. And then all of life becomes the meditation practice, every moment. The good, the bad, and the ugly, the full catastrophe, so to speak, of the human condition, is also a profound invitation to get up and, as Zorba the Greek did, which is where I got the title full catastrophe, the phrase the full catastrophe, in the midst of like just unbelievable chaos and stupidity and pain and every conceivable failure in his life, he would get up and he would dance. And it's just insanely beautiful. If you haven't seen the movie or haven't seen it recently, Anthony Quinn, I certainly suggest you watch it for the joy element that's independent of success or failure. It's just a really profound movie. But, you know, we are living in a period where the full catastrophe is in evidence on steroids like nobody's business. Like never before, actually, on planet Earth at this level, because it's imperialism, you know, with nuclear weapons and robots and drones and everything else, and greed, hatred, and delusion, which was the Buddha's diagnosis for the human condition, is 2,500 years ago. That diagnosis is more in evidence now, watching the news, especially if you're in the United States or Europe, than ever before, but anywhere on the planet, because greed, hatred, and delusion are now like at warp, you know, at sort of on steroids at Davos, and how to counterbalance all this kind of stuff, you know. So it's a really profound question. I mean, healing, it's not just about healing myself, healing the body. We need to heal this planet. We need to heal the world. We need to heal our own governance, ways of governing ourselves, because you know, we're heading for one kind of full catastrophe or another that doesn't bode well unless humanity wakes up. And mindfulness is the direct path, as the Buddha, this is quoting the Buddha now, for that realization, for waking up. I mean, there aren't like 10 different things to do. There's only one, and it's mindfulness. And the Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. It wasn't like he was promoting a religion. He was inviting humanity to wake up. Long, long time ago. But the message and the diagnosis are as germane now as they have ever been. And with the research that's been done on mindfulness, as I was suggesting, there's more and more evidence that this is not just some kind of weirdo, romantic nonsense, but that what looks a lot like nothing from the outside turns out, as I said, to be just about everything when it comes to organizing, regulating health and well-being. So it's a hell of an adventure. It really is a hell of a love affair. And I want to be in dialogue with you about your own conditions, questions, challenges, understandings, misunderstandings, and we'll go back and forth for a while. That too will be the meditation practice, because the meditation practice is listening, deep listening, and then seeing what the responses are, or what you're feeling, or what that brings up, or what. So awareness knows no bounds. It's like, and I would challenge you. You know, I don't ever use the word my awareness or your awareness, because, it would be really kind of obscene to call it my awareness or your awareness, because what kind of arrogance would claim that it's yours? How do you don't, we're born with it. It's a gift. It's a mystery too. As I said, the neuroscientists don't know how awareness arises out of the brain or out of the body, or whether even it's not the other way around. The brain arises out of awareness on the part of the universe. So it's a lot of fun to actually play with the kind of human challenge of living our lives as if they really, really mattered in the only moment we ever have. And so in that sense, let's have a conversation which we all can recognize. When someone's speaking, we accord them our full attention. That's meditation. And when there's a response, we listen to the response. We also listen to our own mind and what we're thinking or feeling or reacting to in one way or another, liking and disliking. None of that's a problem as long as we hold it all in awareness. And we can learn from all of it. And we can learn from each other in very powerful ways, very powerful ways. Because as we see it in MBSR, when people are referred by their physicians to our stress reduction clinic, we see every single person coming in as a full-blown miraculous being. Yes, they may have a cancer diagnosis or a heart disease diagnosis or a chronic pain diagnosis, but we don't see them as like the diagnoses. We don't even ask for the diagnosis in the stress reduction clinic. We don't want to know the diagnosis. We want to know the person. We want to know, how are you? And if the diagnosis and what's going on comes up as part of that, fine, but it doesn't define who you are. You are so much bigger than your name, your age, your story of me, whatever the story is, and certainly your diagnosis, if there is a diagnosis. So I will turn it over to Erica to triage the questions. You raise your hand digitally on the Zoom feature, and let's all agree that every single person who talks is our teacher, that we're all learning from each other, and that we accord everybody our full attention for this period of time. Because you know what? You never know.
Thank you, Jon. Everyone, to use the raised hand feature, there is a react emoji, a heart emoji at the bottom of your toolbar. And if you click on that, you'll see a raised hand with the words raised hand. If you're looking for it, that's where you'll find it. All right, let's start with Namrata. I saw you raise your hand very quickly. I've asked you to unmute.
And can you please, everybody, say where it is that you're calling in from?
Hi, Jon. Good evening. It's good evening for me.
Where are you?
I am based at Saudi Arabia
Saudi Arabia, wonderful. Where in Saudi Arabia?
in the eastern province. It's a place called Dammam.
Wonderful.
And
Thanks for joining.
I am so glad I joined again. And I think 4 years back, I had joined your session and I had got an opportunity to ask a question to you, which was a blessing for me. In fact, I had written about it in my blog as well. And to get to speak to you again is definitely a wonderful opportunity for me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, because I did my MBSR course also, and I have seen a lot of videos. As whenever I get an opportunity, I try not to miss your videos, especially. So I follow you just like a guru. So every word that you say, everything that you teach, I have tried to inculcate in my practice
Wonderful.
with people that I counsel with. There's one thing that always makes me question my practice is that when people come to me for counseling sessions or with their problems, and I tell them that this moment, this present moment is your best moment. And when they counter question me that I'm going through this and this, maybe a job loss, maybe some family issues, maybe health issues, or maybe loss of a loved one, or any kind of an issue. And they ask me that how is it my best moment? How can I overcome this situation? So they say, I say this present moment because I had read somewhere that this present moment is the happiest moment, is the only moment. But when they ask that this is not my happiest moment, how do I make them aware? And I keep questioning my own learnings and my own experiences as well.
It's a
So,
wonderful question. It's a wonderful question. And I think, you know, embedded in the question is the answer. You probably know this yourself. And it's very easy to get into trouble teaching mindfulness because I would never say this moment is your best moment.
okay.
Because as soon as you bring up best in the mind, it's dualistic. Oh, what about my not so good moments, you know? And then you're making a like this or that comparison. Is this my best moment? And then it comes with a certain kind of meaning that may not be true because of what you just said. But if you say this moment is the only moment, your only moment, you have no problem at all. This is it. Everybody knows that intuitively. So it's not a question of like your best moment, then that means like, well, then why am I so unhappy? Why am I suffering? Why am I in pain? So you have to be very, very careful about how you language mindfulness or MBSR, so that it's what, and I did use the word, it's non-dualistic. It's not about this or that. It's much, awareness includes everything. So it's not just left and right or good or bad or, you know, Christianity and Islam or anything like that. It's like it's a kind of integrated whole. So I try to be very careful in the way I use language that way. So if this moment is it, this is your only moment, then everybody will intuitively agree, and then you won't have any resistance. You know,
Yes,
now that doesn't mean it's going to be pleasant. A
yes.
lot of moments are not pleasant, but that's what the practice is all about, is recognizing, it's actually, formally speaking, the second foundation of mindfulness in the classical teachings is to differentiate, they're called Vedanas, differentiate between pleasant feelings, like what is the characteristic of all pleasant feelings for all of us, like what happens when we have something pleasant? We want more of it, right?
More of it.
Let's
Yes,
keep this going. Let's have this last as long as possible. We want as much of this as possible. How about unpleasant? Ugh, push it away, right? And
yes.
then neither pleasant nor unpleasant, we hardly notice that at all. If somebody isn't important in your life, you might not notice they're a human being too. And you might disregard them and they may walk away feeling badly because you didn't even see them. So how we actually navigate our own minds in terms of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, the more we do it with mindfulness, the more compassion arises instinctively on its own. We don't have to think about compassion. It's just you see people, compassion, the heart goes out. So that would be one thing to just be mindful of. Let me see,
Namrata.
Namarata? Is that how to
Yes.
pronounce it? Namarata?
It's Namrata. It's an
Namrata.
Indian
Okay,
name. Yes.
wonderful.
It means
So,
humility.
humility.
Yes.
Awesome. Beautiful. So does that help you at all in terms of the question that you're asking?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there anything else about it that you want to respond with or ask about?
I think I'll be more careful and mindful of how I speak in future. And because I follow Buddha as well, because I was born in the land of Buddha, that
Yes.
was Bihar in the
Oh, wonderful.
Indian land.
Yep.
Yes. So yes, I follow Buddha as well, and Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome. This is a really important question because mindfulness of how we language things is super important. Because if we're trying to communicate with somebody who's suffering and we're using a language that they don't understand, it may be generating more suffering or more
yes,
confusion. And we
yes,
just really, so we have to be incredibly clear about it and try to see all the ways that our choice of words can actually cause confusion or sometimes even pain, and we're not aware of it.
yes,
So thank
yes.
you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Namaste. Yeah,
It was a pleasure to see you again.
thank
Namaste.
you. Likewise, pleasure to see you again.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work over there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. As a reminder, again, if you do have a question, go in the toolbar, lower toolbar where the heart react is and press on that and you will see the raised hand. Next, I'd love to call on Ravi. I will ask you to unmute.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. How do I use mindfulness
Where are
techniques
you
to
calling from? Just
yes, I'm
looks like
calling
you're on
from
a beach in the South Pacific, but
yeah, I fooled you. Calling from Germantown, Maryland, in the
okay.
US. Um, how do I use mindfulness to deal with acute physical pain?
Well, it's an art form. Let me put it that way. It's not a fix, a rapid fix. But if you and you're talking about not chronic pain, but acute pain.
Both acute and chronic.
Okay, because if you hit your thumb with a hammer, which many of us have done at one point or another, that's what I would call acute pain. Okay, and it's just very hard to do if you hit your thumb with a hammer. In the next moment, instead of just doing what we usually do, zero right in on the thumb and actually enter into the entire experience of what's going on in your thumb because it's happening anyway. You'll learn an awful lot about pain, which is, first of all, there's a huge amount of sensory stuff. Okay, that's really intense. So there's intensity, but there's also aversion. It's like it's not pleasant. And then there's also your emotions about it, like, probably the curse words that you issue as you're doing it, and cursing yourself maybe, or, yelling and screaming. So there's the emotional element of it, and then there's all your thoughts about it. So the suffering actually is compounded, is there's by the sensory dimension, the emotional dimension, and the cognitive dimension. They all collaborate to make a lot more suffering than the actual sensory dimension by itself. Now, for chronic pain, where it's ongoing, it's like we define chronic pain as pain that has really not, it has been around for like 6 months or more and is really disrupting your quality of life. Then it becomes something of an art form. Just as the meditation practice itself is an art form. And I think it got mentioned at the beginning that my last book is about utilizing mindfulness with chronic pain, where, you want to get rid of it, but it doesn't necessarily want to get rid of you. And so you have to make friends with it. You have to find a way to, and people often say this, you need to learn to live with it. But usually when doctors say that to you, that's the end of it. Then they just charge you for saying that, but they don't teach you how to learn to live with it. So it is an art form. Can you say more about the pain that you're living with?
I often have, because of my cancer treatments, I often end up in the hospital with problems in my bladder, and so there's a good deal of pain that I
Yeah. Oh,
spend
that
during the
kind of
period.
pain,
Yeah.
bladder pain, is incredibly painful. So first of all, to realize that mindfulness is not a cure. And I make a very big distinction between the words healing and curing. So curing is making it go away, as if like it didn't happen. And there, as you probably know, there are very few cures in medicine, especially for pain. Um, but healing is a different story, and that is always possible. It doesn't mean that some degree of discomfort won't be there, maybe quite intense. But if you actually turn towards the experience and bring awareness to it and drop underneath all the emotions and the thoughts and just zero in on attending to the bare sensations themselves, it's really interesting how much bare sensation we can tolerate with equanimity, actually.
Mm-hmm.
When we uncouple it from our thoughts and emotions,
Mm-hmm.
or the meaning of it, because of course, when you have cancer, then the mind is going to just go crazy with all sorts of thoughts about what it means for me in the future and my family and everything else. And of course, that's perfectly natural, but this is why bringing the superpower of awareness to bear on it, because it's like an ally that you didn't know you had, but that's right under your nose all the time. And it gives you a new way of being in relationship with something that nobody really wants to have to deal with. But when you have to deal with it, it's good that you have as many allies as possible. And mindfulness in this regard is a very, very powerful ally. So that's where that book, Mindfulness Meditation for Pain Relief, I tried to do something very unusual for a book in that regard, because it's like, when you're in pain, the last thing you want to do is read a book, I mean, really, but this book is meant to just look at it. Just look at the artwork, look at the print. Some of the print is very big. Just one sentence could actually remind you to actually put the welcome mat out for what you most don't want, and play with it in a way that's a little bit like yoga or martial arts, that or dance. You're learning how to work with these very, very uncomfortable and unwanted sensations.
So you
And
don't
recommend that.
So you don't recommend using the meditation to distract from the pain. You actually are talking about going into the pain.
You've got it. It's exactly right. And that's the heart of MBSR. When we work with chronic pain patients, and we see huge numbers of chronic pain patients, it's not about distracting you from the pain at all. It's about zeroing in on the sensation, maybe not calling it pain because that's inflammatory, but just calling it discomfort, very high, discomfort on a scale of 1 to 10, it could be a 10 plus. But still, it's discomfort. And now it's going to be your teacher for at least this in-breath and this out-breath. Maybe that's all you can take. Or maybe just one in-breath, never mind the out-breath. Can I take a peek at this and feel it without anything in between? And then if you can on an in-breath, can I do that on the out-breath too? And you play around with actually befriending what you most want to get rid of and don't want to befriend at all, and see whether there's not some way to actually live with.
All important to have.
Live.
Yeah, it's tough.
Could you
People
please
who
shut
come
off?
with
Could you
impressions
please shut
without,
off your? Shut off if you're talking. Please shut off your audio. Thank you. So Ravi, you hear what I'm saying? Is not.
Thank you.
I'm not saying this is easy, but that is really, thousands of people have found this extremely effective, because very often drugs and surgery are no help at all with chronic pain, and often they result from drugs and surgery at some point. So I wish you all the best with it, and just remember that it's a dance. It's kind of like, so if you misstep or you stumble, that's not a problem. You just get back up and get back into the dance, and then let the pain, in some sense, or the discomfort, let it become your teacher. It might as well, because if it's not going to go away, you might as well befriend it. And then the more you befriend it, the more you may find it actually responds to that and may diminish.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, who's
Ravi.
next?
Yes, Kathy, I am asking you to unmute now.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hi, John. I was first introduced to you in 2005 when I was diagnosed with stage 4 inflammatory breast cancer. And I'm in Wisconsin, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. And a year later, diagnosed with a high-grade tumor in my head and neck, totally unrelated, so they say. But here I am, totally recovered. And
Okay, stop there.
yes.
I just want everybody to hear what you're saying, and I want to take it
Oh,
in myself that here I am totally recovered after what you just said. Okay, that's pretty remarkable. Okay, and so I don't want to just kind of pass through it too quickly.
okay.
I want to just at least breathe in and breathe out and take it in that your trajectory is saying something really important, probably for all of us to recognize, and that is, you know, what sometimes when you feel like there's no hope, it turns out there is.
100%.
Okay, so now please
Yeah, thank
continue.
you. Yeah, thank you for that. Well, and I have a question, but just for everybody. Um, One of the things that I did with John's help and some other meditation teachers was to just really lean into meditation. I really developed a practice during that time of 2 to 3 hours a day because I really didn't have a lot else to do. And I didn't want to be sitting in front of the TV. I wanted to do something productive with my time. Even though for someone like me who was busy all the time, meditating, as you said at the beginning, it feels like you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
But I always,
I like to
I
put it, much ado about, Shakespeare wrote this play called Much Ado About Nothing.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
said, like, well, meditation looks like it's much ado about nothing, but it turns out to be just about everything.
yeah. Well, and I would always say to myself, busy people can be busy meditating.
Yeah,
It's
good,
just
beautiful.
something
That's
I
a
had to do.
great motivator.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I did. I went through a lot, obviously, a lot of chemotherapy, but and radiation and surgery and the whole deal, and lots of medication, and all my organs were failing. And I really, through meditation, um, maybe you'll all think I'm crazy, but I started to hear messages from God for me, source, like guidance, sometimes sounding like your own voice, sometimes sounding like somebody else. But it really helped me decide that I was done with the treatment because I was dying anyway. So it was sort of like I either go out my way or I go out their way. And I just decided I'm going to go out my way because I had two little kids that were 2 and 7. And some of the medication was making me really wackadoodle in the brain. And, they call it mood swings, but it's rage. And you're raging at these kids for no reason at all. And it was just ugly. But it was through meditation that I heard get off the protocol train, just get off it. And so I did, much to the dismay of my doctor, who agreed to continue to follow me. And, and I did the whole food as medicine. And but I really worked on my stress management and developing my spirituality and deepening that connection. Learned about Reiki and a bunch of stuff. So interestingly, over the years, the liver healed, the kidneys healed. Um, but I had certain organs, like I thought my heart was totally healed, but now I find that maybe because my cholesterol issue after treatment isn't great. So basically, the bottom line is I've learned that all of those treatments impact your uh, neurotransmitters of certain things. They don't know what's been damaged, what's
Mhm,
not.
mhm.
For me, I now know what's been damaged. And so now I'm trying to recover from that. So when I say I'm totally recovered, I am living a completely normal life. I'm just trying to tweak my health back to, I don't like the new normal phrase. Um, I'd like to go back to my,
No, I
other,
agree with you. I mean, why settle for anything other than this,
yeah,
how you are in this moment, and you don't need to describe it at all. That's really profound, a profound affirmation of how healthy you are.
No, thank you.
In fact, everything
Well,
you've said up to this point is like, holy cow, you know.
it's been a process. And I will say to everybody out there, I love my doctors, but they are limited in the scope of what they're willing to talk to you about, because they feel, some of them, most of them feel they have to stay within the limits of protocol. Some of them will step out. But anyway, my question really is about now, as I have discovered I have neurotransmitter damage, and I'm really working on a meditation practice around that, mindfulness around that, using Reiki around that.
How
And I just
does
want,
it manifest? Do you mind if I ask
yes,
symptomatically, how
so
does the
absolutely. So the my intestinal function has failed, the motility. So I'm on laxatives every day, which is really awesome. It makes it hard to travel and do things early in the morning and whatnot,
Mhm.
but we all adapt. We're adaptable. Um, my cholesterol levels are like a roller coaster. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. And, you know, it's not related to diet or exercise or any of those things. They're all in check. And it's a heavy focus of mine, using food as medicine, and movement. So it's the intestines, the cholesterol, the thyroid. And now I've developed some plaque buildup in my left ascending artery, which is like a big surprise because all my I had my my mitral valves were stretched out from radiation. Those have all come back into place.
Wow,
So I
wow.
no longer have regurgitation, which is awesome. My lungs have totally healed. Um, I do have some issues in my back, but that's not related to um, the neurotransmitters. Trying to think, there's one other thing, the neurotransmitter. I always like, I'm happy when I forget things. It's like, but there's one other function. Can't remember what it is, but I'm wondering, in your experience and working with people who go through the heavy onslaught, and of course, back in 2005, the doses they were giving
Right.
were
Much higher.
really horrible. Um, and of course, if anybody knows inflammatory breast cancer, that's not an easy one to recover from. So the dosing is brutal. Um, so here I am 20 years later, yay, and trying to learn. I've reached out to some of the scientists that are studying the neurotransmitter damage. Oh, I also retain a bunch of water, which is like weird. I don't know why that is, but that's part of it. I can't get anyone to respond. And it used to be, because I used to, talk to scientists often in the early days of my diagnosis, trying to figure out what they knew. I'm, obsessed with science. And I think it's an amazing field and all the changes and things that they've done to help us. But I do struggle to get any real information on this. A lot of the studies are still being done in mice. And I'm wondering, in what you've come across, and do you know people who have been discovering this damage and being able to treat it either through mindfulness meditation, Reiki, any other work, or because I'm sort of at the point where I feel as though it's not the food, because I've got that nailed down. It's not the stress management, because I've got that nailed
Mhm.
down. It's really something, um, brain, or like I don't know how you describe it, chemical, or I
Yeah,
don't know. And
let
can you
me,
change that through meditation? Anyway.
the answer to your question is I don't know, but I think you're a kind of poster child, so to speak, for yes, you can. I mean, look how much you've, transformed
Yeah.
already. I mean, it's really incredibly impressive to hear what you've reclaimed, and by leaving the traditional medical surgical approach because it was like, at some point not returning the kind of benefits you wanted.
Hmm.
So, without going into like enormous detail about that, I mean, there are places where physicians are actually, like Andrew Weil, I'm thinking at the University of Arizona, might be worth going there and consulting with him and the medical director there about your condition, and then they'll give you a whole workup from their point of view, which they call integrative medicine, where they try to
Yeah.
integrate across life. There's also something called functional medicine, which has a kind of different take on it, and there are physicians who do that kind of thing. But I would say that for the most part, you're right on target just doing what you're doing.
Mm.
That there's a certain way in which it sounds like your body is learning to heal itself.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes. I actually, someone who became a close friend of mine, who was really one of my doctors, is one of Andrew Weil's guys,
Okay.
and he's sort of at a loss too. He's like, because they're just sort of figuring this out. I think the study started coming out in 2018. Prior to that, they were like, because you get this sense when you're meditating and you start really getting deeper and listening to the guidance,
Yeah.
you get a sense of what's going on and what your body needs, what it's asking for. And I've had that sense for a while and been told, no, it's not a thing.
Well,
Not a thing. I'm like, well, it's got to be a thing. But yeah.
I wouldn't,
So I
I'm
appreciate
I'm
that.
not going to, of course, it's not my role. Plus, I'm not a physician, so I'm not going to give you any medical advice over
Yeah,
Zoom.
of course. Of
But
course.
there are, if you want to go that route,
Yeah.
there's that whole integrative medicine route where they can give you the kinds of approaches that if you
Yes,
go the
I've done.
functional
Yeah.
medicine route, and you can
Yeah.
just Google functional medicine, you'll find,
Yeah.
the Cleveland Clinic and so forth, they do
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And they have a whole other way of understanding how metabolism and, sort of
Hmm.
natural foods and all sorts of other things can
Yeah.
collaborate to move you in the direction you want to go in. But I would say that to a first approximation, just keep doing what you're doing, and
Okay.
and 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 have faith in a certain way that
Hmm.
science is never going to understand at the level that you need it to be understood in your lifetime or my lifetime, how to kind of fix that problem. And that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons we make a very big distinction between fixing or curing,
Yeah.
getting rid of what's wrong, and healing, which means coming to terms with the way things are
Hmm.
and then learning how to live with that. And then, interestingly enough, the body often responds by magically things
Okay.
disappear, and that's already your experience. So I think
I,
you're ahead of the
yeah.
curve already, and trust your own intuition around that. But try to be driven not so much by fear, but by love, and
Right.
you'll be okay.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's good to hear a level-headed person saying you're not crazy. You're not the crazy cancer
No,
lady.
you're not crazy by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay, I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you, and
so
good luck.
much.
Thank you for sharing your story with us, Kathy. Next, I'm going to call on Jeffrey. I've asked you to unmute.
And please say where you're calling from too.
Hi, John. I'm calling from Michigan.
Great.
So I'm a psychologist and I work primarily with kids and adolescents. So my question is, what is the best way I can, this is actually for them and for myself. What's the best way to start a daily meditation practice without putting too much sort of stress on them or myself, without too much expectations? Because a lot of kids will just listen to me and go, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well,
Of
that
course.
seems like a waste of time, or they're too busy scrolling on their phones or whatever else, right? So meditation is taking them away from all that, which kids don't want to do.
Yeah. Well, this is a huge question that for the entire world, because now we have these kids are digital natives. They've never known the purely analog world, or even a phone with a wire, a phone which is wired to a wall. They
Right.
don't, that would be like a museum piece for them, or unimaginable. So you're asking a really profound question that there's no one answer to, because the sort of digital revolution is actually going to tip humanity into a space that it's never been in before, with AI confounding it and compounding it beyond belief, where you won't even know what's real and what's not real. And what I would say kids most need, you work with children, right? You're a child psychologist.
Uh-huh.
Is more experience of the analog world. So you can't do it by taking away their phones, but can you actually maybe use the phone in a creative way to teach them how to befriend themselves? So there are all sorts of programs for guided meditations for kids that you could download onto the phone and give them some homework along those lines. I've never tried this, so I don't know. I'm not saying this from any kind of experience, but I do feel like, we've got to kind of do Aikido with the digital world, get in real close to it, and then turn it so that the analog, world, which is like only the result of 13.8 billion years of evolution of the universe, which results in these children and ourselves, that's not too shabby. And we don't want to give up on that analog beauty and imagination and everything else. And the digital is actually has the potential to really seriously impede imagination in some ways, but in other ways, maybe it's just a colossal, I don't know, rude awakening that is unavoidable, and everything we think about it is going to be wrong in 10 years. So we don't want to be too driven by fear. The most important thing I would say, and I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, is if you're working with kids, the most important thing you can give them is their sense that you're actually getting them, that you're seeing who they are when they're there.
Yeah.
And so if you're telling them in any way that they should be doing something that they don't want to do, they're not going to actually see you that way. So I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but it's a huge question, and I really don't have any kind of a practical answer for you that, I could offer at this point.
Well, just on a side note on the AI, I think it is in some ways taking away critical thinking skills from kids.
It may, but it may actually generate another level of critical thinking. I mean, I just don't know. That's why I'm saying the kind of this underneath the vault of the cranium of every single one of us is the most complex arrangement of matter in the known universe, in the absolute known universe. I mentioned that it's like north of 200 billion neurons. There are at least that many glial cells that are supposedly doing housekeeping for the neurons. But in terms of synapses, I misspoke. I said there were trillions of synapses, but there are, I don't even know how to language it, gazillions of synapses, and they're continually changing actually on the basis of experience. So we're driving synaptic, connections and interconnections, so we can drive, beneficial synaptic connections by meditating, for instance. That's been demonstrated, or by doing video games or all sorts of other things. So it's like, well, what synaptic connections do you actually want to drive in terms of what's called functional connectivity in neuroscience? So I just bow to you for being on the front lines of that, and would say the most important thing, whether you're a parent or whether you're a child psychologist, and it's very rare, is that very often kids do not feel met or seen and accepted as who they are. And I think that's the doorway into them experimenting with anything, is like, if you can communicate enough to them that they're okay, you get them, you see that they're okay, and then rather than fixing them, you want to kind of like play with them to explore what they probably most would love and benefit from.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love when I have like a 5-year-old in my office, like behind the couch, upside down, or twirling around in the office, but they're talking and just saying,
Right.
I'm like,
Absolutely.
I'm fine with that. Or blue hair with teenagers and whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
It sounds like you're great at what you do, and just to deep bow to you for it, and to keep that question alive because nobody knows the answer. Right? I mean, Steve Jobs was famous for keeping his own devices away from his children for very long stretches of time, because they are, and they were designed to be maximally addictive. I mean, I know the people who designed the iPhone, and then, and I mean, uh, they had significant regrets, not for the money that it brought in, but significant regrets for the effect that it's having on the minds of humans.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
now, everybody walks down the street like this,
Yeah.
and if people were walking down the street like this 40 years ago, they would have been, sort of basically an ambulance would have arrived and they'd be carted off to some mental hospital. And now everybody is so self-distracted that, you don't actually see people mindfully walking down the street in the presence of other humans.
Well, and also I think for some it those isolated teenagers, let's say, it takes away, so like they might have friends, so, like online, right? But no friends in real life. Like
Yeah,
not even friends like next door, like they're same age as you.
right, right. You don't even talk to the next door people
No one
because
goes out.
you're
Yeah,
always with your digital friends. But there's also the problem of, and if you haven't seen the film The Social Dilemma, you should watch it because
yeah,
the toxicity of social media is such that kids commit suicide because of what's said on the internet, and and now with chatbots, I mean the chatbots are telling kids to commit suicide.
crazy.
So this is like whatever you can do, please do it. I'm speaking not to you personally, but to all of us, because
Yeah,
our own cleverness has reached a point where we could be destroying childhood and then future generations if we're not mindful and careful about how we deploy this technology.
mm, good point. Yeah, thank you.
It's also driving warfare and making warfare a lot easier because it's all going to be remote by drones, and look, that's what's happening in Ukraine and in other places that they're just testing out the next generations of automatic weapons, robotic weapons and drones and things like that, so that all the killing happens at a distance, but
Well,
it's still killing.
still killing, but it's not, it's not real life anymore. Not real humans, right? It's just on a
Well,
screen. You're on a screen.
but
Real life.
the
It's real
future
life.
is exactly, the future is here now, but this is why mindfulness is important on a kind of global world level. We have to learn how to regulate our own cleverness and how to govern ourselves so we don't destroy not just ourselves, but the planet.
Yeah.
And if the government, which it doesn't now believe in or credit science and global warming and all of that kind of thing, it only, is basically accelerating the problems that we'll be facing when the kids that you're seeing now are in their 20s or 30s.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Mhm.
Next, I'm calling on Francis. Francis, I've asked you to unmute.
Thank you.
Chevalier, Francis
Yes,
Chevalier.
Chevalier, that's
C'est
right.
bien ça.
Oui, je trouve aussi. Trying to take my hand down. I think I did. Okay. Yes, it's very good to be here and to have this opportunity to participate.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Thornton, New Hampshire, was a pretty rural, kind of isolated part of New Hampshire
Okay.
where it's very cold. We're expecting minus 40 degrees
Right,
this
right.
weekend. But yes, it was very good to hear Kathy share her experiences. And I also decided to stop treatments at a certain point because of my reaction and to the anti-aromasin inhibitor that I was taking. After only 6 months, I was starting to experience cognitive issues. And so I told my oncologist at the time that I was not taking them. And my whole body was telling me don't take this anymore.
Yeah.
And so I stopped. And then I started learning after my diagnosis. I did have interlobular invasive cancer, invasive interlobular.
Wow.
And it wasn't very large. Well, I insisted on a lumpectomy. Turned out I had 8 tumors removed. And I refused radiation and I refused chemo. And there was this, I know it's going to sound weird, but like this voice inside of me, my body was telling me this. And I had this communication, this sense of communication with my cells. Now, it's going to sound weird, but I feel like we're all a unit and we're all working together to keep this unit thriving. And so I've learned since my diagnosis to pay attention to this and to have compassion for those areas that become painful or whatever, and to not ignore it. And at one point, I developed appendicitis, and I declined surgery. Now, I don't want to sound foolhardy. I did have a CAT scan. It had was inflamed but not abscessed. And I declined it because I had read research done in Sweden, I believe, in Scandinavia, well-documented research that showed that 80% of patients did not require surgery for appendicitis if they were treated with IV antibiotics. So that worked for me. So I must say, I've felt this connection and I feel very grateful and blessed. And but at the same time, I feel that I'm drained of energy. I don't know if it's from the treatments or whatever. I do meditate, but mostly I pray. And we didn't really talk about the role of prayer. And I am a Christian, and I'm very grateful to my connection with God. And I've had, I don't want to know if I should call them visions, but awarenesses during prayer. And my prayer, I try to release my control and to just accept that what's happening or what's going on is for a good reason. And
Beautiful.
thank you. So I'm a little nervous talking about this because I figure, people are going to think, that I'm weird. But I wanted to communicate.
Everybody's weird. Don't worry about it. Get over it.
I wanted to communicate it because I just feel that it's, and everybody has to do their own journey. And I certainly wouldn't want to discourage somebody on doing a treatment that's necessary. But it's very difficult to find doctors who will go outside of the box. And I can understand why, for legal reasons, and they're doing the best they can. But I think it was Bernie Siegel who said, we are not a statistic. And we don't all fit in the boxes that the statistics show. And at my age, my 70s, do I really want to take follow a protocol that's maybe designed for somebody who's 35 or 40? I don't think my body can recover from those hits, if you will, to come back and flourish. So my question is, I still feel very exhausted, and I think it probably is depression, and I just don't understand how to deal with that. I don't know if it's physiological. I'm trying to figure it out.
Can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Do you exercise?
Well, that's the thing. I don't get much of an opportunity to exercise.
What do you mean?
Well, I live in an area where it's very tough for me to walk outside. There's ice.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Snow.
I'm not talking about.
Yeah, and it's very cold. And
Right.
what I like to do, like when I grew up in France, and I go there every once in a while, but I love to walk
Yeah.
as a functional thing, and I think what's happened in the United States is that there's no public transportation to speak of anywhere. So you're always relying on your vehicle and parking places, and you can make an effort to walk more,
Right,
No,
but
I
let
don't
me cut to the
exercise
chase.
enough.
Okay, if you can't walk in the winter time, you can walk plenty in the spring and summer and fall
Yes,
in New Hampshire. Okay,
right. But we have
have you
long winters.
tried to do anything like yoga down on the floor in your own home?
Well, I was doing some exercises, classical stretch, and I
Uh-huh.
signed up for gym. And I don't know, I just feel so sore whenever I do anything.
Well,
So
this is another reason why, like in MBSR, mindful hatha yoga is a very big part of it. It's very gentle,
interesting.
but it's really an important part of it. So if you just think meditation just sitting on your butt on the cushion,
Right.
no. I mean, the mindful yoga is a huge part of MBSR, and MBSR is designed for people with chronic medical conditions. It's not just for the general population.
Okay.
It's basically in hospitals around the world.
Huh.
And the yoga, the mindful yoga is a I do it every single day and I have for like 60 years.
Okay.
And I tell you, I'm not, maybe it's not for everybody, but it would be if you're stuck in your house and you're thinking you need to take care of the body in that
Definitely.
kind of a way, please
Definitely.
understand that's as much a form of mindfulness meditation as sitting without moving. But when you do get your body down on the floor or standing or balancing and all the kinds of things that are outlined in full catastrophe living for a start, but that you can go much deeper than that, then this may be at least a kind of step on the road to your reclaiming that element of your life. And I love that that you are listening to yourself more than even you're listening to your doctors, that you're really trusting that your
Hmm.
own intuition about what your body needs is important. That's absolutely critical. And so if there are things like mindful hatha yoga that you could do for the rest of the winter as an experiment to see whether it doesn't actually help you with some of the things that you're struggling with, and then combine that with sitting meditation and then walking once the weather gets better, um, I think that might be a very interesting experiment for you to explore.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Francis, and bonne chance.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Francis. And I do want to mention we do have a Fit Over 50 ebook, evidence-based and expert-led on our
Oh,
website.
wonderful.
And in our newsletter, we are soon going to be releasing a fitness snacks infographic. And these are exercises you can do at home from your desk in your bedroom. You might be interested in keeping an eye on that as well. Next, Elizabeth, I will be asking you to unmute. Elizabeth.
And turn your camera on too, if you don't mind.
Yes. I've asked you to start your video and unmute. I'll give you a few more seconds.
Why don't we go to
Yes.
Deepak here
Yes, let's go to
and we
Deepak.
can come back to Elizabeth if she comes back.
Deepak, I've asked you to unmute. All right, I'm going to go to Chris.
Well, wait a minute. He's looking for it's at the bottom left. It says audio, and just click on that.
And there should be a button that pops up on your screen as well when I ask you to unmute.
Oh, okay. I guess if it's going to take that long, we'll move on to
Yeah,
the next person and come back to us, Deepak, when you're unmuted.
yes, I am going to Chris. Chris, it looks like you might be unmuted now.
Yes.
I'm unmuted.
Oh,
I'm
Okay,
unmuted.
let's take Deepak. Can you tilt your screen down so we can see your face?
Like this? This is
Oh,
good.
that's much better. Okay.
Chris,
Thank
we'll come back to you.
Can
Sorry.
I go?
Yes.
Speak? Thank you, Erika. Thank you, John. It's a great honor to talk to you. The wisdom and the empathy that I see in this room is amazing, is mind-boggling. I'll make a little small comment and then I have a couple of requests and suggestions or questions. My comment is that initially, my bad that I somehow aligned in my mind mindfulness with stress reduction because of MBSR.
Yeah.
But actually, it's much wider.
Yeah.
It's a delight and a relief to me to notice that you say life itself is meditation. And I actually went out of my way, not recognizing. I knew about you, I've read about you, I've read your books, and all that good stuff. And I know your history, and I know why you call hyphenate Hyman, last name taken after your wife, and all that. All that. I've been a great admirer of yours, but I did not connect that. So I went out of my way to do some research. I wrote an article called "Total Transformation Using Mindfulness." That got published in a prestigious journal called Leader to Leader. I'm now in the process of expanding that into a book, a
Wonderful.
self-published book with
Wonderful.
with a similar title. And I also had a successful career in leadership development, worked for AT&T, head of executive development.
Okay. Let me ask you, Deepak, in the interest of time, because we've only got another
Okay.
20 minutes for this whole session, could you just cut to the chase in terms of your question
Okay.
or comment? Okay.
Question. Cut to the chase. I'm expanding the article into a book. I would give my right hand, John, to be able to meet with you somehow, somewhere. I'm 80 years old. I want to put my best into the book, just celebrate my birthday, and consult with you, get some inspiration, get some consultation, get some advice, get some areas to focus on and areas to avoid. Is that possible?
It's possible, but very, very, very unlikely. I mean, it's possible, but I can't say yes to it, Deepak, much as I would like to, because I have so many other things that I'm already committed to, including my grandchildren and my family life and everything else, that to say yes to one more thing is to actually betray the things that I've already said yes to. So I'm going to have to defer on that one and decline, but to just bow to you for even the desire to share it with me. And I trust that it will find its own way in the world without my input at this point.
Without meeting, is it possible to send you the draft or do a Zoom call
Yeah,
or
but
something?
people send me so many drafts and books that I no longer. I read books before I blurb them or anything like that, and it takes a lot of time to read other people's books, especially when I'm doing my own writing and so forth. So it's really not going to be possible in this lifetime. I'm older than you are, and I'm running out of moments, so I have to be very judicious in how I make use of them. I'm
Thank
sure you understand.
Is there
Yes,
any
and
seminar you're doing where I could come by and at
Well,
least meet you?
you can Google me and find stuff that I do
Okay,
online or whatever.
okay.
Okay? Thank you. Thanks so
thank
much,
you.
Deepak.
And Chris, I will come back to you and ask you to unmute.
Hello.
Hi there.
I have one very quick, amusing story on my question.
Where are you calling from, Chris?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Wonderful.
So the quick, amusing story is somewhere around the year 2000, you and I passed in the hallways of UMass Med. I was a assistant professor at Worcester State, and I was doing research there. And so I was going down the hallway, and you passed by, and I was a little too starstruck to say hello.
Oh, too bad. I would have
So
loved it.
this is my moment now, though.
Yep.
So my question is, um, uh, I have always sort of had trouble trying to develop a practice, and now I think I've learned part of the reason why. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with a connective tissue disorder. And so I don't know if you've worked with any patients with that, with like Ehlers-Danlos or Marfan syndrome or anything like that. But because of the defect in our connective tissue and the fascia, our bodies don't have the structure it needs to like stay upright.
Mm,
And our muscles have to stay engaged all the time to keep us upright, which doesn't allow us to really relax if we're trying to stay upright.
right.
And
Right.
so it generates all sorts of fatigue and pain also, but it's not just pain, because those muscles are getting overworked and getting fatigued because they're providing the structure that they're not supposed to be providing.
I hear you.
So have you worked with any connective tissue patients? Oh, got an EDSer over there in the chat. And have you worked with them? Do you have any particular tips for like we can't stay still for a period of time because we just fatigue. So I don't know if you have any tips.
No, I'm really not the right person to ask because
Okay.
although, I've worked with thousands of people with hundreds of diagnoses, I'm not that familiar with that one enough to give you any advice. What I would say is that there are many different doors into the room of mindfulness. So sitting meditation is not the only one. So lying down meditation and even on a comfortable surface, that might be more kind of congenial to you're not having too much discomfort. I'm a big fan of lying. I'm a big fan of meditating in bed every morning when you wake up. Because we say we woke up and we jump out of bed and get going on our day, but is it true that we woke up or are we still on autopilot and we're just running through our moments to get to better moments? So before you go to sleep at night and especially when you wake up in the morning, if you do sleep in a bed, then that's a perfect time to actually meditate. I don't know whether that's comfortable or not for you with the condition that you have, but lying down meditation is one of the 4 classical postures. So there's no problem at all with that. And then the real meditation practice, as I said at the beginning, is life itself. So in that sense, you have to, in some sense, become your own teacher or let life itself become your teacher. And with your condition, it's like, let it be an adventure of, okay, I'm this age, however many years old I am, and how can I be in wise relationship with the condition that I have and see what's possible? And no one knows what's possible, not your doctors, not, nobody, but you can explore an adventure in that domain. And that itself is a very positive orientation towards living your life fully in spite of whatever diagnoses seem to accompany us on our medical trajectory through life.
That makes sense. Yeah. And even as you were saying that, I was thinking even walking, being in motion is easier than
Wonderful. Well,
staying
walking
still. So,
meditation, again,
yeah.
and Thich Nhat Hanh has written wonderful books on walking meditation. I mean, there are all sorts of resources that you have because, you can do slow walking, you can do fast walking, you could even do running meditation. I did that for 40 years, or more. But yeah, make use of what you already have and see how that actually reclaims stuff that you may feel that you have lost.
Okay, great. Thank you. And by the way, I still use your Bill Moyer's Healing in Mind in my health psychology class.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's very sweet to know.
It's a great video. My students love it. My college students love it.
Yeah, it doesn't grow old. I was just speaking
No.
with somebody yesterday who just watched it I haven't seen it in decades, but
Yeah.
who just watched it and was just mind blown by the kind of intimacy that they were able to capture. And
Yeah.
I'll say just the reason for it is that his whole team, like the film, the cameraman started a meditation practice. The sound man quit smoking. Bill Moyer started his own meditation practice and never stopped. I mean, everybody who was involved in the filming of that was their lives were completely changed
Yeah.
by engaging in it.
And my last comment, and then I'll close. You just reminded me, Debbie, who is one of the patients there, she lived in the apartment downstairs from me.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the program also has special meaning
I'm very touched to hear
because of
that.
Debbie. Yeah. So thank you for what you're
Okay.
doing today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I think what we're going to do is take only 1 or 2 more, and then we'll stop and have a sort of slow glide path into the top of the hour when we're supposed to stop. But I think you get the sense that this could go on for another 2 or 3 hours, and I'd be happy to do it. But that's not so much, I mean, that's kind of like just emblematical of the fact that mindfulness really brings us together, and it's like the curriculum is life itself. And when we listen to each other's stories, and we're all winding up teaching each other about how resilient and beautiful we are as human beings. And that's not something that's going to end when this program ends. This is an ongoing adventure, and as I said at the beginning, love affair with life. And every single one of you is kind of the in the driver's seat, let's say, or the agent of transformation and learning that comes along with this meditation practice, where life itself becomes the real meditation practice. So let's take the two people and then we'll stop. Will that be okay?
Perfect.
And I
Yes.
apologize in advance for all the other hands that are up, but maybe we'll just have to have another session at some point.
Oh, I love that idea. Elizabeth, I saw in the messages that you got a phone call and that's why you missed us last time and you're back.
Okay,
So
there
I
you
am
are.
going to ask you to
And you're
unmute.
in your car.
Yes, I
Okay.
am in my car. Um, Actually, I've been a part of one of your lives a few years ago, and you were
Oh,
extremely helpful. It was when a childhood friend, a neighbor passed away, and it was during a very tumultuous time in my life, which led me back to mindfulness practices. And finally, I'm getting done with the MBSR course. For the first time, I've picked it up and I finished it. So every time I felt like something major jerked me in a different direction and that I had to come back to it. And so I finally have. And I want to start offering mindfulness practices freely to my community because we have been majorly defunded in
and
the
where are you
South.
living? Where do you live?
I'm in North Alabama preparing for the ice storm. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it feels like we're in a kind of a renaissance period for mindfulness and psychology and epigenetics and everything like that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
we're also in a huge political and tumultuous upset on another side. And I think these practices can keep us grounded enough to not be reactive to those things. So what would you say to somebody who wants to do like a peer-to-peer led group or something to offer these skills and practices to people in the community who wouldn't have access to it otherwise?
I would say you go for it, girl.
Do you have any books recommendations or anything like that? I would just
No, obviously this motivation's coming from someplace deep inside yourself, right?
absolutely.
So that's the resource, and the books and everything else, that's second order stuff. I've written lots of books. If you find them useful, you can use them, or there are millions of books out there on mindfulness. But the real curriculum is you show up and embody it and then recognize it in everybody else and give them permission to love the life that's theirs and the kind of guidance in how to actually thread that needle. Because there's a nice words, but words are cheap. And what we're really talking about is embodying what it is that we love.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your help. It was a very serendipitous thing. I didn't even realize the topic was cancer, and my father was recently diagnosed. So all the people in the chat dropping all the knowledge, I have gathered it all up. So thank you all, and
Wonderful.
thank you too for your time and everything you've done for me in my life. The mindfulness practices have changed everything about how I live. So thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Be well.
Thank
Okay,
you,
we'll take the
Elizabeth.
last one.
Yes, Kevin, I've asked you to unmute.
Okay, was I successful?
Yes,
You
you
sure
were.
were. Thank you.
Great, thanks. John, thank you for your help here. I took MBSR about 10 years ago, and I've read a couple of your books, very helpful. And as I listened to some of the speakers earlier, I was reminded of the challenges sometimes with the medical field. I went from COVID to AFib to hyperthyroidism, and then to what I have now, lymphoma, all in under 6 months. And when I went to my first oncologist, he said, "Well, just tell me what's relevant." And he was already siloing things, and
Yeah, right.
things are much improved.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, hopefully you work with the medical field more and more, from what I understand. That's great. They need to probably be taking this class. I guess my question is more specific. Can you give somebody with ADHD a little help with that vis-a-vis mindfulness? Very challenging to stay focused or to stay within the.
Yeah.
Any
It's
tips?
it's true that if you've been diagnosed with ADHD, sitting still and befriending the present moment could feel like torture. But I've met a lot of people who have benefited from it, who have had that diagnosis. I'll say uh, although this is not to diminish the diagnosis, the fact of the matter is the entire society has ADHD big time. I mean, nobody's paying any attention. No, everybody's attention span is in the toilet. And it's getting worse and worse with our devices, as we said. So, to a first approximation, the whole world has attention deficit disorder, and we're trying to heal the world. And so, for people who do have that diagnosis, my nutshell suggestion would be find something that you love and pay attention to it in an extraordinary way. Then the life becomes the meditation practice. Maybe it would be painting or photography or music or playing music and there are an infinite number of doors into this room. And the important thing is not, as the great yogi Bob Dylan said, stand in the doorway, but to actually enter the room of mindfulness. And there are an infinite number of ways to do it.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful question. And let me just say, for those of you who, Gloria and Minu and Karen and Viola, whose hands are up, I'm sorry that we're not getting to interact, but I hope that in some sense, or let me just say this, I've found that because we never ever get to answer all the questions, there are always more questions than there is time to answer them. But this is the way I understand questions. Wherever the question has really arisen for you, if it's an authentic question, if you pay attention to where that question has arisen in your own mind, you will find that you have probably one or two really credible answers as well to the very question that you're asking of some expert. And so trust yourself and see if you can't find an answer that works for you, at least for now. And I will bet that your answer is going to be better than whatever I would say. So, in the remaining moments that we have together, and let me just say for the people who are organizing this, if you could send me a link when it's over, and we could just do a 5 or 10 minute get together after this is over to just discuss how it was, I would really appreciate that. So Erica, if you could just send me a link, if that's possible, let's do that just so that we can talk about it. But for now, let's just take a moment and be quiet and rest in the resonances and the aftermath of everything that's been experienced since we started 2 hours ago. Everything that you've felt, that you've thought, that you've heard, that you've sensed, and that other people have spoken, and whatever your heart might have responded and spoken to yourself. And then drop into stillness, where we feature the breath once again, the breath sensations in the body, once again, center stage in the field of awareness. We're not pushing anything away, but we're just featuring like a spotlight, center stage, featuring this breath coming in, this breath leaving the body. In the chest, in the belly, at the nostrils, wherever the sensations are most vivid for you. And once again, as we did at the beginning, inviting yourself to simply take up residency in awareness. To let that be your address. I live here, in the present moment, in awareness. And when I drift off, I come back as soon as I recognize it. And maybe reminding yourself, or at least considering that it might be meaningful to see this as a radical act of sanity and love, to inhabit the only moment any of us ever have to be alive. And that we're always blasting through to get to some better conceived moment at some other time that's never going to happen. Thoreau is famous for having said in Walden, I went to the woods for the 6 months or a year or however long he went to Walden Pond to live by himself, even though he went back into town and visited his mom every once in a while, and she did his laundry apparently. But he said, I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what they had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discovered that I hadn't lived. So this is the moment when we're still alive to recognize just that. We're still alive for now. And how alive can we be if we're zoning through our moments on autopilot and lost in thought and caught up in emotional turmoil a lot of the time? So awareness is never not here, never not available, never not present. And all we need to do is learn how to access it by exercising the muscle of attention and cultivating moment-to-moment awareness. It has the most profound impacts on our mental health, on our physical health, on our social and societal health, and ultimately it's going to have, in fact, the health of the planet may hinge on our ability to wake up as a species, to own the name that Linnaeus gave us hundreds of years ago, Homo sapiens sapiens, which means basically the species that is aware and aware that it's aware. So Homo mindfulness. And we haven't quite made it there yet, but as somebody said, mindfulness is really exploding in the world and becoming so much more mainstream than it ever was before. I just came back from a 3-day meeting in Geneva, Switzerland at the UN headquarters there, and the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and they're trying to make the whole UN a more of a mindful organization. Same with the World Health Organization, and to deliver more mindfulness-based and compassion-based programs, which they were already doing, but for the sake of their staff as well as the people that they help globally around the world in some of the most difficult areas of conflict and refugee camps and violence, victims of violence of one kind or another. But mindfulness is moving into the world in ways that would have been inconceivable 50 or 60 years ago. And we're part of that, to whatever degree you want to be, and to whatever degree you recognize that not only are you a part of this flowering of embodied wakefulness and compassion on planet Earth and wisdom, but you're an essential part of it. Your flower is as beautiful and as belongs as much as any other flowers in the field. So, just to say, it's been an absolute privilege for me to be with you, and deep bow of gratitude to all of you who did raise your hand and got to speak and share some of what you've been going through. It's unbelievable. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's very hard. It's human. There's a lot of pain, but when we distinguish pain from suffering, you can see, and I think we saw it today, and the hearts that are blossoming on the screen are kind of indication of it, that there's something magically beautiful and wonderful about us human beings. And in community, when we get together like this, and make no mistake, we're all in our own homes, but we're in some kind of much larger intentional community. And I thank the organizers of this for doing this anti-cancer network. I mean, it's just really beautiful, beautiful work that you are doing. And it's a real privilege to have spent this time with you today. Thank you. So let me suggest that now everybody unmute yourself, and if you want to, scroll through and just say goodbye to everybody else and look at their faces and see that you are not alone.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
John Kabat.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Week, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, John. Thank you,
Thank you.
Erica.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, John.
Have a good
Do it
day.
again.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
God bless you,
Thank you,
John.
John.
Roger.